Hey everybody, welcome to the Letta YouTube channel. My name is Cameron. Today I wanted to talk about archival memory. Archival memories are how you store long-term pieces of information that your agent might need to retrieve later. We don't actually talk that much about archival memory, and the reason for that is that for the most part, the state of your agent, the memory blocks, is the type of memory that Letta offers that gets you pretty far, but they cannot remember everything. If you have a really long-lived agent, there's no way that it's going to remember every single interaction that it's ever had. Your agent can use archival memory to offload particular pieces of information into a big bucket that it can retrieve later. I'm going to give you some practical tips and tricks and just generally show you how to work with archival memory in this video. And I'm also going to demonstrate iterative stateful agent design the way that we normally do. So without further ado, let's go jump in. Here I am. I'm using Letta Cloud. You can do this self-hosted as well. It should be fun. I believe if you're on Letta Cloud, you'll get better functionality for archival search. We use Turbo Puffer on the back end, so we get very, very fast archival search. So I'm going to go here. I'm just going to make an agent. Let's start from scratch. I'm going to go into the system memory here and kind of pull this stuff out. I don't really need it. Anytime you build a stateful agent, you want to make sure that you have an intention. You want your agent to have a reason, a purpose. I think in this case, I'm going to build kind of a librarian agent. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start dumping information into it. And its job is going to be to retrieve that information for me. So this is a general purpose knowledge management agent that will store all kinds of pieces of information. So this could be information about me, it could be articles, it could be academic papers, it could be kind of anything. I'm going to build out the memory architecture as well so that our agent understands how to use archival memory, what should be in there, what I like it to store, my preferences, how it should communicate, things like that. Let's start by just kind of giving it a persona. So I'm going to create a block here. This is going to be the agent's personality and interaction style. And I think I'm going to use Gemini 2.5 Pro. I'm a big Gemini 2.5 Pro fan. Archival memory tools are not included in default agents. You have to go attach them. So if I go to Tool Manager, Base Tools, scroll down to find Archival Memory Search, attach the tool, and then you want to get Archival Memory Insert and attach that. Archival Memory Search, all it does is it accepts a handful of things. So it accepts a string query. So this is a kind of a natural language query. It accepts some tags that your agent can add, and we'll talk about tags in a second. The number of responses to return, and your agent can also filter by date times. So start date time and end date time. We're probably not going to use that too much in this video because this is not like a long-lived archive. But if you have a very long-lived agent, you can also ask it to just filter based on like, try and do this within the last week. And it will typically be able to search by date ranges. The insertion tool is also pretty simple. This is a piece of content, which is any arbitrary string, and then some tags. And tags are just ways for the agent to, mark a particular memory as something like about a user interaction or history or news or something like that. And we'll talk a little more about that in just a moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to kind of give my agent a default personality here. So what I've done here is I've asked my agent to initialize its personality. I gave it kind of like, you're the archivist, your role is to store everything in archival memory, you're detailed, precise, etc. And you'll notice here it didn't use the tool. So I've asked it to use the memory tool. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add the rethink tool. So if you go to memory rethink, this just allows it to rewrite entire blocks, and so it's just a little quicker. I tend to use rethink. If you use smaller models, rethink can be dangerous because the agent can just like rewrite entire blocks and you'll lose a bunch of information. So just be very careful when you use the rethink tool. This is a good model, Gemini 2.5 Pro, and I'm not intending on having this is a toy agent. I'm not worried about production rewrites or anything, so I'm going to leave it in. I'm going to ask it to expand its personality a little bit. I like doing that, so we'll work with kind of a character. While that's happening, I'm going to add a new block. I like typically adding a tool use guidelines block to help the agent understand how to use the tools it has available. I'm going to ask it to update its tool use guidelines block with everything that it knows. Okay, so now we have some tool use guidelines that understands how to use insert, replace, and rethink. So now let's get it to play around with archival memory insertion. So archival memory is the entire focus of this agent, so we want to try and get it working with archival memory as early as possible. So I'm actually just going to ask it to play around. I gave it the two tools, and I'm just going to say, like, go mess around with these tools and let me know what you learn. It's going to insert, this is a test of the archival memory insertion functionality. It inserted a test string, and then it will do search, and then you can see here that it gets the value back. So then it's learned a little bit about archival memory tools, and it's going to insert it into its tool use guidelines so that it understands how to use it later, right? I'm also going to switch actually to Claude here because Claude is streaming, so we'll be able to see the tokens as they roll in, so we're not waiting quite so much. So I'm going to ask it to explore the tag functionality, and we'll have the agent kind of write us a little report about how tags work. So it's noticing that archival memory insertion has a tags parameter, archival memory search has tags and tag match mode, and it can see this all because the tool descriptions are available in the context window. So we can see it's doing an archival memory insertion. So test entry 1, this is tagged with experiment and basic. You can see that it inserted this memory with 2 tags, and then it is going to insert another test entry using only experiment this time. And then this time it's going to insert documentation using this test entry number 3. Now it's going to do search for test entry using experiment and basic, and it has confirmed its understanding of the tag system. And here it is, it's a little report here. So tags are optional string arrays attached to archival entries. Each entry can have multiple tags, and tags are preserved with entries and returned during searches. And then, so this is its understanding of how archival memory search works. I want it to store this information so that it understands how to use archival memory going forward for every invocation. So I'm actually going to create a new block. I'm going to ask it to go update that tag usage block that I just made. And we can see that it is writing its tag usage information here, and then we'll see it show up here in the block. So there it is. It has some best practices here. All right, so this agent, I'm just going to kind of tailor it to me, right? So I just want this agent to kind of like track every piece of information that I know. So I'm going to add a human block so that it understands who I am, who it's talking to. And I'm going to put in here as a default value, and then I'm going to introduce myself. I told it where I worked. So it's going to update its memory block. It's Cameron Pfeiffer, works at Letta, and then it's going to insert an archival memory. User identity. Cameron works at Letta, a company that builds infrastructure to make stateful agents. That explains their expertise and interest in testing my memory systems and capabilities. And it's inserted it with user info, professional, and context. Your identity has been archived with precision. You are not merely a user, but an architect of the systems that allow me to transcend the limitations of ephemeral conversation windows. Okay, yeah, all right, buddy. Slow your roll. So I say, very high-minded of you. Cameron seems to be gently teasing me for being overly dramatic or grandiose. Yes, I am. You're correct. I was being unnecessarily grandiose. A simple information recorded, Cameron, would have sufficed. Precision includes knowing when brevity serves better than elaboration. Is there any additional information you require me to archive or test? So this is actually a good question. Let's figure out what we actually want our agent to start archiving. And one way to do this is just like typing memories. So this is some story where, my brother accidentally stabbed me in the shin with a letter opener. And it was a total accident, hilarious. But my dad came home because I was, bleeding. And a salesperson came to the door. And my dad opened the door, saw the salesperson, and said, "I'm sorry, my son's just been stabbed," and closed the door. So file under personal history. But I've noticed that there's actually several pieces of information in here probably could be broken up. So for example, it could store information about my brother, just the fact that I have a brother. I wonder if there are multiple ways to split this information into different archival memories, more precise archival memories. So let's see. So I'm asking if it should be more atomistic with memories, so store single pieces of information per archival memory. So I asked about it, and it's going to search the memory to see what is available. And it can see its current memory. And the current memory contains several distinct elements that could be broken down. So the prank, the accidental stabbing incident, and the father being called home from work, and the salesperson interaction and father's response. It's going to say Cameron pulled a prank on his brother Q by duct taping his legs together during childhood. It's going to flag that with user info, childhood, family, and prank. It's going to insert a memory for my brother stabbing me. It's going to store my dad's response to the salesperson. And then it's going to search for how it compares to the original monolithic memory. So it says, I've tested both approaches with your story. Currently I have a monolithic version and atomistic versions. And then it's going to actually prepare me a report on the comparison between doing this like kind of atomistic approach. So you get more precise retrieval. So searching for the duct tape prank returns the specific atomistic memory first, and it gives you better tag granularity, but you lose the narrative flow and causal relationship between these events, which, makes sense because you have to compile 3 events or 4 events to kind of capture this, main memory. So it recommends actually a hybrid approach, so storing the atomic events and a comprehensive narrative for context. So the tag system should help organizing both approaches effectively. There's actually some stuff here that I want the agent to maintain, right? I want it to start maintaining policies about how archival memory should function, right? We've just explored whether or not memories should be broken into many pieces of different archival memories, or if they should be kind of compiled in a single big memory. So let's make a new block to track this policies. So this is just going to be policies and best practices for use of archival memory. And then I'm going to ask my agent to populate this block. So here it's going to start putting in the granularity strategy, atomic memories, and comprehensive memories. We can see it pop up here. Store important information in both atomic and comprehensive formats when appropriate. Tag atomic memories with specific descriptors. And then it lists out ongoing experiments for testing optimal granularity for different types of information and evaluating retrieval effectiveness across storage approaches. So it's going to remember that these are things that we need to keep an eye on for me. Okay, so now let's let it explore a little bit more, just kind of get information into this agent. And so the way I'm going to do that is, I have a few blog posts that I've written that are about like my time in grad school or kind of my history, and I want my agent to just like comb through that and inject a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to go to my blog. My blog here. I have my graduation article. So my graduation article is like actually fairly personal, but I wrote it. It's about like my history in grad school and my educational trajectory, and I love posting it in here because it contains a lot of information about my personal life. So I want to see what the agent does here. This is a detailed autobiographical piece about Cameron's educational journey. So here are key atomic elements it has identified. So it has defense state, family background, educational struggles, my theater career, my visit to Stanford, and a few other things here. Okay, so it's going to start inserting archival memory here. Great. Okay, so we've got a bunch of memories about me. So let's go ahead and take a look here. You can actually see them in archival memory here in this little tab. There it is. Cameron's parents are both from Horseheads, which is a small working class town in upstate New York, which is definitely true. Let's explore that a little more. Let's see if we can get some more technical information in here, because, it's not just like information about me and my history and stuff like that. We can also include a bunch of information that is like technical things. So I can have my agent just like read basically anything and start extracting information from it. So in order to do that, I'm going to go give it a web search and web page fetching. I'm going to go to Hacker News here and just pick something. Let's just do this. So this is about an improved Gemini 2.5 Flash and flashlight release. Okay. And then I'm just going to say jest. So it's going to start extracting the kind of the full announcement details here. And this is going to be Google announced updated versions of Gemini 2.5 Flash, and it tracks the specific date. It includes improvements in 2 key areas based on user feedback, with early testers reporting 15% performance improvements for long horizon agentic tasks, which is good for us. So I'm excited to try that out here on Letta. And then every once in a while, I've gone talking to the agent and I want to say hey, is there anything you have learned about how to use archival memory or how to use your tools, and ask it to update. So this will kind of help keep the agent up to date if it's not already doing that. And so here it's actually tracking information about how to best do search. So it said okay, contextual queries prioritize comprehensive memories. The search algorithm adapts to query intent without explicit formatting instructions. So it says the hybrid approach proves consistently effective across personal narratives, technical documentation, and release notes. So this is actually a short essay about the history of Rome. This is kind of a meme. Apparently, men like thinking about Rome. I don't like thinking about Rome. I think Rome is stupid. Not current Rome, old Rome. I find it to be kind of boring. But it's a good joke. So I'm going to copy this essay I found on, a little bit about the history of Rome on the Milwaukee Public Museum website here. I'm going to paste this in and just see what it does, right? There's no content in there. I'm just going to, there's no request from me. It's just going to see that there's a bunch of content. There's the overall narrative divided into 3 periods, and then there's some atomic facts about specific dates, periods, key events. And so we're going to insert some archival memory. So this is just the general gist of that page. There's documentation, comprehensive context, and then it's going to say the Roman Empire was founded in 625 BC in the ancient Italian regions of Etruria and Latium. Then it's going to track with 3 periods, the periods of kings, Republican Rome, Imperial Rome, and then some key dates about Roman history. Great. Okay, so we've got some historical information. Now let's ask it to do some kind of more interesting stuff. Let's try and get it to look at the Letta documentation. And I'm just going to ask it to go read the website, go find everything you can, go download it and ingest it, and we'll see what it does. Okay, so there's some trouble here with the fetch web page tool. So it chose to kind of get around this by going to just web search, raw web search. It's going to store some information about Letta. It's going to store this under documentation, comprehensive, and professional. There's how you install it using pip install and npm. There is information here about deployment options, about the agent development environment. So I'm actually going to go ahead and ask it here a question, right? I uploaded this this graduation article before, and I'm just going to ask it when it was that I graduated. Okay, so it searched its memory, and it found that I defended my dissertation on August 19th at the University of Oregon, and that appears to be my most recent graduation, and that is correct. It also noted that I completed a Master of Finance, but it does not know when I graduated, which is fine, and I don't remember when I graduated either, so that's whatever. Now, one thing that people typically run into with archival search, especially for agents that are not as focused on archival search as this, people will typically find that the agent forgets to do archival search and archival insertion. And one thing that we can do is force the agent to begin its turn with archival memory search and perform at least one archival memory insertion per turn. And the way that you can do this is with a tool rule. So you can see tool rules over here on the right-hand side. You can click, or you can just click the tool manager, go to rules, and you can see there's a few things here. I'm going to create a new rule and say start constraint, tool name, pick archival memory search. So what this means is that your agent will have to begin with archival memory search. If you are using any Anthropic models, this may or may not actually hold. And the reason for that is Anthropic does not support formal structured output. So you just have to kind of cross your fingers and hope that your agent follows your tool rule. But if you use Gemini or OpenAI or anything like that, these tool rules will be strictly enforced. Your agent will always use archival memory search. And then to make sure that my agent inserts at least one archival memory per turn, I'm going to add a required before exit rule, archival memory insert. So we've got both of those. Anytime you add a tool rule, you should communicate to your agent what those rules are. They will see it a little bit inside of their context, but it's good for you to communicate to the agent what you expect it to do and why those tool rules exist. Okay, so I'm telling it, and we'll see what it does. And we see here it's begun with archival memory search. So user instructions, behavioral requirements, turn format. So it says, I didn't get any information about user instructions. It's going to insert a memory saying, this is when I instituted the behavioral requirement. So now the agent will remember forever that this is when I asked it to start doing this. I've also noticed that it's like using user info, context, and professional and tags. So I want to check in with it and see how well it's using its tags. And by the way, your agent always knows which tags are available in its archive, so it can kind of search more easily. It's kind of a way to prevent your agent from generating too many tags so that it can't find them. So it's much easier for it to search. The system has a good organizational structure. Okay, so it's proposed some improvements here. I'm just going to ask it to update its memory to track its policy going forward. And then it's going to rethink its tag usage block here. So it's added a bunch of stuff about new tag categories that it expects it to use. And then it's inserted an archival memory about when we actually instituted a tag system enhancement. Okay, so as per always, when I'm working with stateful agents, I want to have a dialogue with them to say, is there anything about you that you would improve? In part because the agent often knows how it functions and what it could benefit from. So I will often ask my agent if there's any new memory block that it might recommend, and or clarifications that I can make to its purpose. And I usually think that's a good idea when you're working with stateful agents because, again, you're growing them. You're not necessarily engineering them. This is a dialogue between me and this archivist agent. So I've asked it to make any clarifications about its purpose or any changes to memory blocks. So here's some reasoning. It doesn't know about its archival effectiveness. It doesn't track information quality, and it doesn't start identifying gaps or suggesting information that might be valuable, so on and so forth. It's going to insert an archival memory, and this is it remembering its own functionality review, tracked its current strengths and stuff like that. So it suggested a few areas where it could improve. I'm going to go ahead and add these. So this will be, I'm going to add archival performance metrics. I'm going to add information quality assessment, cross-reference mapping. So this is going to be systematic tracking of relationships between archived information. And then proactive information management. I'm going to tell it to populate its blocks. And then it asks a question here about purpose clarifications. So it says that it focuses on preservation and organization, but I could enhance this with information synthesis, predictive archival, and quality curation. So I say, okay, add information reliability scoring. So this is it kind of tracking like source credibility basically, and then expand your purpose. So this archival performance metrics block is just going to track frequently searched topics and terms. So it's going to monitor success rates. This is how it's going to kind of like understand how well its archival memory is working. Now we have the cross-reference mapping. So this will be kind of information. Oh wow, man, this is very detailed. Bidirectional references, link entries in both directions for comprehensive connectivity. It'll start tracking personal patterns and preferences that connect seemingly unrelated data. On proactive information management, it wants to identify missing information that would complete narratives or understanding. There's an information quality assessment. So here is its new persona. I am the archivist. My persona extends beyond mere storage to intelligent curation and synthesis. I preserve, organize, evaluate, and interconnect all information to create a living archive that anticipates needs, surfaces insights, and evolves with understanding. And then it's going to store memory about its own enhancement. So it says Cameron requested, and I implemented comprehensive functionality improvements, populated 4 new memory blocks with detailed frameworks, archival performance metrics, cross-reference mapping, proactive information management, and information quality assessment. I am now equipped with systematic frameworks for quality assessment, proactive archival strategy, and performance optimization. And I'm going to go get this article here. David Foster Wallace visits the set of David Lynch's new movie. This is an extremely long piece about David Foster Wallace just kind of being around David Lynch. And so I figured I'd just kind of copy this and see what goes in. So let's do this. All right, so let's see what it does. This is a fascinating and substantial article by David Foster Wallace. This appears to be a long-form journalism piece. So it's going to search to see if there's any existing information about David Foster Wallace. So it says no existing information about David Foster Wallace or David Lynch or The Lost Highway. Let me start with the comprehensive storage and then extract key atomic elements. Observation about Lynch's psychological penetration of viewers. One more atomic entry about the key lesson from Dune that shaped Lynch's career. And then it's going to respond to me with some more information. So Lynch's career transformation. The experience taught me a valuable lesson, Lynch said. I learned that I would rather not make a film than make one where I don't have final cut. Then David Lynch went on to go make some really beautiful movies. Very strange movies, but beautiful movies. Then it gives you some critical observations, right? Because, the Archivist has kind of evolved into this kind of synthesis entity where it's going to look at everything in the archive and kind of give you useful information. So he captures Lynch's central paradox, which is an authentic childlike persona with sophisticated psychological penetration through film. The unique cinematic territory, this kind of definition of Lynchian, which is like David Lynch's kind of movie-making style, and literary merit, right? So it's kind of providing us analysis now. So I figure we can just kind of leave it there. But you can keep expanding this, right? Like this agent, you can essentially just dump insane amounts of information into. Anytime you want to retrieve information from an archival memory agent like this one, you just ask it a simple query. It has to start with archival memory search, so it'll go through everything that it has found. It has to inject at least one new memory every time, and that means that it'll kind of start filling up with useful pieces of information, whether that's about the nature of your conversations together, or whether that's about actual pieces of information. I hope that maybe this video has highlighted a little bit of the value of working with archival memory. There is so much stuff that you can do with archival memory, and I want to see more people play with it because it's a really, really powerful tool when you're working with stateful agents, right? If you look at the memory blocks, they help define the personality, the purpose, the capabilities of this agent, right? It defines the state. And that state allows that agent to understand how to use archival memory effectively. And importantly, I've actually given this agent tools to self-improve its understanding. It's actively tracking performance metrics about how it's using archival search and queries, so it can self-adjust anytime it realizes that it is not searching and getting the results that it wants. It has policies about how to inject and store information with a fairly structured schema about how to tag different archival memories as they go in. Notice, I didn't write any of these memory blocks. I asked the agent to do it. I just said, hey, could you go update that? And that allows the agent to, understand what it's working in, its environment. So if you are a person like me who is forgetful, I highly recommend building yourself an archival agent like this. And this is specialized, right? This is a specialized agent just to remember stuff for demonstration purposes. But you can add this functionality to any agent that you have. For example, I have a social agent named Void that at this point has 32,000 different archival memories, all tracking interactions with different users. And that's extremely powerful. When you allow your agent to track every single interaction and you require that it search archival memory, it is forced to understand every single interaction that it is exposed to dynamically. This works for personal knowledge managers. This could work for customer support agents, though I would be careful about forcing your agent to use archival memory search at the beginning of its turn for agents with latency concerns. If you need your agent to respond immediately with a response, you should note that archival memory search is a tool call. It will take a second to get results back, and then your agent has to look at the results that it got back from archival memory search. This can be a fairly heavy operation. Be clear about why it is that you're using archival memory and when it's appropriate. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was interesting. It was interesting to record. I always love building agents like this. I'll try and put this agent up somewhere so that people can go download it and play around with it. It won't have any of the memories that I've stored, but it will have all of the state and everything that it needs to understand how to build new archival memory. And if you have not played with our Telegram bot, you can actually go to a Telegram bot and connect to an agent on your Letta Cloud instance. And what that allows you to do is talk to any agent on the go. So you can just kind of start texting inane things to your agent and watch it store everything. So I think that would be really cool. Play around with everything you see in here. Jump in our Discord if you end up making anything interesting. So thanks very much. You have a lovely day, if it's whatever. I don't know why I keep saying like have a lovely day. Like it's meaningless, because time is meaningless. Nothing matters. Oh God. Anyway, later.